Hey Jessica.
Hi.
I wish I could say I'm excited, but I'm a little nervous. The book we're gonna talk about. You were gifted this wonderful book, called Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
There it
That's
is,
scary.
guys.
It's a little creepy
Mm-hmm.
there.
It's a little. Mm-hmm.
So I read Pride and Prejudice. It's been a while, but I remember the gist of it. Um, how much is similar? I mean, before we get into details, like overall.
Overall, the story is pretty much the same. There are a few differences as far as characters and plot are concerned that surprised me that they actually went that route. And I can talk about that. So there will be spoilers in this podcast, guys. So if you are considering reading this book, maybe not listen to it. Or what I could do is I could just my thoughts that are not spoilers, I can tell you some stuff about the book, and then at a certain point there will be spoilers. So maybe not
Yeah.
listen after that point.
Yeah, give
But
us the
yeah,
heads up once
so
it gets into
the
spoilers.
yes. Okay. So overall, the overall story in and of itself is exactly the same as Pride and Prejudice. You have all the same characters. You have the exact same ending. So if you know how the book ends, there's no difference there. The difference is that it involves zombies. So, and I can go into some heads up stuff, like not spoilers, but I can go into some reasons why you may want to be careful when you read this book. Because for me, I love fun books. Do not go into this book being serious, okay? This is not meant to be a serious piece of literature. They literally took Jane Austen's book and they can use her exact verbiage because it's public domain now. So it is Jane Austen's words and whatnot, but they inserted zombies. So don't take it seriously. It is not classical literature. It's not serious literature. So first and foremost, if you go into this book, go into it not taking it seriously and just for fun, because that's what I did. Like I went into this, let's see how they can incorporate zombies into Pride and Prejudice, because this is just funny. So that's my first thing. Please do not in any way take it seriously, because it doesn't take itself seriously. So that would be my first thing. Second thing, depending on your level of gore and how much you can handle, I would say it doesn't get overly gory. It doesn't describe, like gory details. I won't say gory details on here because some people don't handle it very well. So it will describe how they
Thank
kill
you.
the zombie. You're welcome. I know you're a very visual person. It will describe how they kill the zombie. Obviously. So it'll say stuff like they chopped off their head, right? So if that type of description doesn't sit well with you, don't read the book, because it focuses on how they kill zombies and how zombies actually kill people. So you get descriptions both ways. So if gore is not your thing, or if a little gore, yeah, I would say don't read it in that case. If you're not into gore and descriptions, it doesn't get heavily into the descriptions, but still, if you're kind of iffy about it, don't read the book. Um, they do change some of the characters' personalities in the book, and this is the part that bothered me. So initially, it slightly bothered me, and this is not a spoiler, but Elizabeth Bennet is the main character, the protagonist of the book. And when you read Pride and Prejudice, you get the sense that Elizabeth is very logical. Uh, she's very centered. She doesn't let her emotions too much get the best of her, right? And there are parts in this book where it will mention that Elizabeth will roll her eyes at her sisters. And that gives me pause, because in the original Pride and Prejudice, I'm sitting here thinking, Elizabeth would not do that. Not outwardly. Like inwardly, she might be really annoyed with how her sisters act. Because, if you are a sibling, you will eventually get annoyed at your sibling, right? But but just some of the words that they say that she says or her actions, she does come across more, I don't know. I don't know the right word for it, but she's not as stoic as she is in the book. And it kind of bothers me that they changed her personality in that way, where she's a little more outwardly showing her annoyance at people. They also, because they incorporate zombies, and you have to figure out how are you going to incorporate zombies into this. The Bennett sisters all fight zombies, and they're all trained in martial arts. Now, this is not a spoiler. This is just, you go right into the book knowing that they are all trained in martial arts. And so because of that, they naturally, I think, have to change some aspects of each of the characters because they are very active in fighting zombies. They're not going to hesitate going into a fight.
Yeah.
And so there you do have some aspects like that. So I would say be prepared going in. Your favorite characters may not be as wonderful, as enjoyable as they are in the original book. And then now I'm going to get into my big hesitation on, and it's not a spoiler because this has to do with minor characters, but it is something that's mentioned and it really bothered me. It genuinely bothered me because this is in the latter part of the book. So I was mostly enjoying the book up until these parts. And I say mostly because, again, I don't like how they changed Elizabeth's personality and how she, like, the fact that they just said she rolled her eyes at her sister, like, that bothers me. Like, I just don't enjoy them changing her personality. So this is not a spoiler, but one of the things that I really didn't like is, I don't know if you remember in the book, Christine, the dad. He is a father of 4 daughters. No, 5. Sorry, 5 daughters. I always forget about Mary. He is the father of 5 daughters. He is married and has been married to the same woman the whole time. Well, in this book, he has to take his daughters to the Orient in order to be trained in the ways of martial arts. Well, the book mentions that he purposefully leaves his wife at home so he could have dalliances with women while in the Orient. That bothers me because, one, there's no reason for it. It does not add
Yeah.
any drama to the book, but it radically changes who he is as a character. And yes, while he can be ridiculous in the fact that he married Mrs. Bennet, and if you've read the book, you know Mrs. Bennet is in and of herself absolutely a ridiculous woman. It takes a special man to be married to a woman like that and stay married to her for all those years. But in the original Pride and Prejudice book, he may have his moments where he may not be as tactful as he could be, but he always comes across as someone that is very wise and
Yes.
very level-headed and very much like Elizabeth, right? Uh, and the fact that they put that in there, that he went there purposely without his wife to have romantic relations with other women, really bothers me because that changes the fundamentalness of the characters. And that changes the goodness of the characters because now he's not cast in this wholesome light that he should have been cast in as the father figure of the girls. So that was the first instance that they mentioned, and that really bothered me. Then they mention it again when Elizabeth is with her aunt and her uncle, and they go to a certain town. And I'm not going to say too much, it's not a spoiler, but they go to a certain town where her aunt grew up in. Well, it mentions there that her uncle would fall asleep early and her aunt would go and have dalliances with some of her old flames. And again, it doesn't add any additional drama to the story, but you're marring the character of the character of the character, right? Like, they're no longer these upstanding citizens. They have these secrets that Elizabeth knows about, right? But it doesn't go anywhere in the story. So it's stuff like that if you're going to have your teenager read this, right? Because it's not, again, it's not classical literature. It's not meant to be taken seriously. A teenager could pick this up, follow along, and read it. But you have some of these concerning moments towards the end of the book. So I would recommend that if you're going to have someone read it with a lot of discernment, especially towards the end of the book. Have those conversations maybe before if you have your teenager read this book, have those conversations beforehand about, we're going to keep an eye out of stuff that we're going to see in this book, and figure out together what is good and what is bad. Maybe have them read Pride and Prejudice before reading this one so they can compare and contrast how this drastically changes the feel of the book, the goodness of the real Pride and Prejudice versus fun literature. So I would say overall, it's an okay book. I would have liked it significantly more had they not included the random dalliances with married people, because it was only the married people. And that's the part that bothers me. It's like, you chose the people in the book that are solidly married to someone, and you have them go and have affairs. And that really bothers me because there's absolutely no reason for it.
Yeah.
So other than that, the book is fun to read. It's you could just imagine the zombies coming in and Elizabeth and all them fighting off zombies with swords or whatever, or muskets. It's funny. It's funny literature. Don't take it seriously, but they do radically change some fundamental aspects about it, and that's the part I didn't enjoy. So that's it for non-spoilers. Like, after this point, no guarantees. There will be spoilers from this point on. So maybe stop here if you don't want to know what happens in the real Pride and Prejudice versus this one. But I'm happy to go into some big differences that are potential spoilers for people. Unless you have any other questions, Christine, because I've been rambling on here about some aspects of the book that I really did not enjoy.
How funny is it? It's a little funny here and there, is like funny.
I did not. Okay, just for my personality, I did not find it funny. I don't know that I actually laughed out loud at any given point. I found it very interesting and intriguing and just comical, but not in the laughing sense, but comical as in, how are you incorporating zombies into Pride and Prejudice? So I personally did not find it laughing funny. But I will say they were very creative in how they approach certain aspects of the book by incorporating zombies a little bit more than I anticipated. And I genuinely said, towards the first third of the book, how are they going to resolve this? Like, I was genuinely interested. For instance, again, spoiler, Charlotte Lucas, you remember, is Elizabeth Bennet's best friend, and she ends up marrying Mr. Collins, which is the cousin and is supposed to inherit all of Longbourn, right? And so in Pride and Prejudice, the original, they get married, they go live over near Lady Catherine de Bourgh and have a little house there, and then Mr. Collins is just all about Lady Catherine de Bourgh, right? Well, in Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, Charlotte Lucas gets bitten by a zombie before she gets married, and she slowly starts turning into a zombie. Nobody notices but Elizabeth. Nobody. And so when Elizabeth goes and visits Charlotte Lucas with with Charlotte's sister, and they go over there to visit her new house, she is clearly turning into a zombie. It talks about her eating some things that nobody else is eating, but nobody notices. And it's just, I'm sitting here wondering, how are you going to resolve her turning? There's no cure for it. She's going to die. And I'm just sitting here how does this work? I mean, not that she's a huge character later on in the book, but
Yeah.
Mr. Collins writes Mr. Bennet a letter at the end of the book, again, spoilers, talking about how there's rumors that Mr. Darcy is going to propose to Elizabeth, right? And so I'm sitting here, that is a key letter at the end of the book that's written by Mr. Collins. Is that still going to happen? Even though, Charlotte's clearly going to be dead by the end of the book. And then, not only does Charlotte die because she turned into a zombie and they had to behead her, but Mr. Collins, and this is another part that bothered me, but it's a spoiler and I didn't want to give it away in case people wanted to read the book, he commits suicide because
Wow.
his wife turned into a zombie and died. And I'm sitting here why? He doesn't have such a big part in the book. Why have him commit suicide? There's other ways you could have had him killed off that probably would have been just as dramatic if not more dramatic. You know, like they could have easily said that he got so upset that she turned into a zombie that he decided to go out and fight a horde of zombies and ended up dying because of it. Like, let him go out in a flame of glory, right? And like,
Yeah.
you know, so there's other ways other than suicide. And that's the other part that bothered me, because like that's not in Mr. Collins' character in the original book.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I appreciated that they decided to turn one of the minor characters into a zombie. That was incredibly interesting, watching that whole thing work out, especially when Elizabeth visits. But then they ended it that way with him committing. It bothered me. So yeah, that was one of the plot points that I found very interesting but disappointing, unfortunately. There's so many ways the author could have gone about, or authors. Author. Oh no, Seth Grahame-Smith is the author. So there's so many ways that this author really could have gone about it that I think would have made the book so much more enjoyable. I like just taking out some of those aspects of changing the characters fundamentally about who they are, keeping the personalities, and then you can incorporate zombies into anything, you know, without changing the fundamentals. I really feel like he was onto something, but he missed the mark. And as someone that loves Pride and Prejudice, like that's one of my favorite books of all time. I'm reading it for the 5th time through with our book club. I love it that much. I'm willing to read it a 5th time. And that's just one of those, like, for someone that's a diehard fan of the novel, and I'm willing to pick up a book like this to read it for fun because I know not to take it seriously. Like, you have me intrigued. It's not that I'm such a purist that how dare you even touch the story, and not, but at the same time, there are pure aspects to the story that you should not touch, and I feel like he did, and it didn't do it for me, and so I would say he had a golden opportunity to make this into a really fun, lighthearted, not necessarily lighthearted, people die. But they die by zombies, so to me that's different. But he had an opportunity to really like incorporate something there, and I don't care that the girls knew martial arts. That didn't bother me. It makes sense. When you have a zombie apocalypse happen, somebody needs to know how to fight them. And it's not like they have AK-47s back in the 1800s, you know? So it's like, yes, they had to learn martial arts. I have no issues with that. I have no issues with how he described that the zombies killed people and the people killed zombies. That never bothered me, you know? But stuff like just changing the characters, he could have really done without and done a lot more with it. So overall, that is my overall sense of the book. If you want to give it a chance for yourself, see if you disagree with me, that's totally fine. Maybe I'm just being overly sensitive because I do love Jane Austen. I do love Pride and Prejudice. How dare you touch my characters in such a way? So I might just be a little too nitpicky for some people. If you want to give it a try, give it a try. But there are some things in there that you want to go in with a level of discernment. And especially if you have young, inexperienced readers, maybe have a talk with them beforehand, would just be my suggestion. So I think that's all the big stuff. I can get into the nitty gritty stuff if you really want me to. But I mean, did that spark any questions or anything that, because you haven't read it and you're not going to
No,
read it,
I don't
I'm
have
sure.
any desire. I think like all the change up of the characters could be why it has a low rating on Goodreads. Because when you started reading it, I was like, okay, let me check out, and it was just like really low. I'm like, some people are not bothered by a low rating; they'll be like, oh, I'll read anything. But when it's so low as what it is on Goodreads, I'm like, I don't know. I mentioned it before. I like just have this long list of books I want to read, right? And so yeah, just too many other books that I get into.
I
So,
mean, you are right. I do also have a long list of books to read. But like you said, it was gifted to me for my birthday, and I have been intending to read it because it just sounded interesting and fun. So I was like, why not? It did not. I mean, you know, when I started reading it, because I told you, hey, I'm reading it. It did
Yeah.
not take me long at all to finish the book. So I was able, it's a speed read for me. Because again, I know the plot of the story. So it was more just like I'm reading it for all the added details that they put in. So to me, it was an easy read. It wasn't as in depth as the Pride and Prejudice book itself is. I honestly don't even know that it's the same length. I don't know. I did not compare if it was even, because there are pictures in my book by the way,
Oh,
so
okay.
like full page pictures. No, that's a gory one. We won't do that one. Oh, that's the other part. I should have mentioned this at the beginning. There are pictures in this book of zombies eating people. So if you
Uh,
are a very visual person, oh, this one's not so bad. There's literally a full page of art in this book. So even though it's 300 some pages, 320 pages, there are like literal full pages of pictures. So they don't get overly gory. It's just, it's, a zombie looking person eating what looks like somebody's arm. It's not like there's blood spurting out or anything like that. It's very
yeah.
clean. It's clean, but it does give you some sort of depiction. So, but yeah, overall, I mean, there are much better books to read out there. But if you want something dumb that you just want to mindlessly waste your time on, go ahead and read it. You might find it much more funny than I did. So that's just my recommendation on that book. I have a
Thank you
whole
for
bunch of other
sharing.
books though, people. So just beware. I may be doing more book reviews on weird books like this because I didn't get just this one,
Yeah.
not just this one for my birthday. I got a lot. So yeah, we will I will let you know how those go once I manage to get through them.
Thank you for sharing.
No problem. Talk to you guys soon.